All right, we're going to continue to talk about friendship with how can I be a good friend? How can I be a good friend? I want to show you this picture and see if anybody can tell me if they know either one of. There's three people, you can't see it. Can anybody tell me any of those? Mark Twain. Do you know who the young teenager is? That's Helen Keller with Ann Sullivan spelling. If you can tell, she's spelling in her hand. That's how she communicated with her, spelling the hands out, words out in her hand. Now, one of those unlikely friendships was Mark Twain and Helen Keller. When she was 14, she went to a party in New York City that Mark Twain came to. He's so impressed with her, they became friends, had a friendship for the rest of his life. He heard that she wanted to go to college, didn't have enough money. He called one of his rich friends, paid for her to go to college. She was the first deaf and blind graduate of a college in history, Helen Keller. They continued that friendship over the years. In 1909, he invited Helen and Ann Sullivan and her husband to his house, and actually stayed a few days. And he read a book, and as she had done before, when he read the book, she would put her fingers on his lips and understand what he was saying by feeling her lips. Wow. And so they just had a great relationship. They didn't know 1 year later Mark Twain would die. And she was friends also with people like Alexander Graham Bell. Anyhow, what I wanted to say was this about Helen Keller and Mark Twain. She said, "It has been said that life has treated me harshly, and sometimes I have complained in my heart because of many pleasures of the human experience have been withheld from me." And boy, you could understand that. And that's when she goes on to say this, "But when I recollect the treasure of friendship, the treasure of friendship that has been bestowed on me, I withdraw all charges against life. Much has been denied me, much, very much, has been given. So long as the memory of certain beloved friends live in my heart, I shall say, life is good." What a quote. To not be able to hear or see your whole life, but to say, you know what? Better than that was the friends that I had. That's a great attitude to have, and it's an important point to make. And as I get older, I don't know about some of you, but I reflect more on life. I think about stuff more, maybe deeper than I used to. And I knew that friends were always important. But now looking back on my life, I realize how much friendships made a difference in my life. In my I told you as a teenager when I got saved, the friends in that church is one of the things that helped me stay there, impacted my life. As I look back in the different churches we've been in, the friends we made that we have now all over the country and impacted my life. It made a difference. Friendships are so important, and it is a Bible thing too. We don't want to ignore that, and that's what I want to talk about for us, how to be, not just have friends, but be a good friend. All right, 5 ways. Number 1 is to take the most time. Invest your time. Invest. Now, that word is sort of loaded on purpose. Invest your time. If you're investing money, you want to make sure, boy, that's important. Where I put my money, I want to put it in a good place. And life is made of time. That's what we have. And we only have so much of it. And I want you to realize that we should invest our time. Look at the definition of invest. To use, give, or devote as for a purpose, or to achieve something. I want you to see that your life is made up of so much time. We don't know how much more we've got, and with whatever we've got, we need to spend it, invest it in friendships, in helping and giving to others and building friendships. I think that is so important, what you're going to do with your life. There are friends who destroy each other, but a real friend sticks closer than a brother. He's there. A real friend is there for you, which means taking time. Now, I know we're all busy. Somehow, with all the life, all the things we have, time-saving devices, we still are busy. But what are you going to say at the end of your life? What did I spend my life for? What did I give it for? I'm saying to you that friendships are an important thing to invest in, because that's other people that we can help. If they're Christians, we can help them grow, encourage them. If they're not Christians, we can help spread the gospel to them. What did Jesus do? Jesus picked 12 men, and he spent all his time with them, and also other men and women that were his friends, that he spent friendship experience with them, and then said, all right, guys, I'm going to heaven. You got it. You're in charge. Take the gospel to the world. This is the way Jesus started the church, with friendship. And so when I say to you, invest your time, I'm saying you're investing your time in other people for the kingdom of God. That's why this is so important. So, it takes intentional acts. Now, what does intentional mean? I did it on purpose. I thought about it, said, you know, I ought to do this, and I'm going to do that. Instead of just waiting for somebody else to act, we act. Most of us in here this morning are older, been Christians for a while. I think it's more on us than anybody to invest our time in the lives of other people, younger people. Because what we're doing when we invest our times in their lives, we're affecting them and their kids and their friends and their grandkids. We're affecting generations until Jesus comes back when we invest our time in other people. That's why it's so important to be intentional. And so I say maybe the reason we don't have many friends, and I've heard people say, well, I don't have many friends or any friends. Maybe the reason we don't have is we aren't giving friendship. I'm saying to all of us, don't sit here and wait. Well, I'll sure be glad when somebody invites me to something, when somebody comes and talks to me to something, when somebody invests some time for friendship for me. I'm saying all of us ought to go and do it. And if you come into somebody, and you are going to come to some people, they're just loaded with friends. They don't have much time. There's other people who aren't. There's people who are lonely. And they'd be glad to have a little of your time, a little of your attention. So find some people. They're there that we can build friendships with. We must choose. Choose to invest time. And I say this to us who, this can be almost a mentoring thing if you want to say it, because we're going to be what we ought to be, walking with God, and then spend our time helping that to rub off on other people. That's what Jesus did when he was here on this earth. And that's what I think we should do. Stop waiting for people to be your friend. Be a friend. And I mean that for everybody here. Whatever your limitations, we still have phones. We still have ways to do things for us to be a friend. And I know we all got our own things to do, and I know you've only got so much time. I get it. But, you know, we need to, sometimes it's going to cost us something. You know, being a friend says, I'll be there when you need me if it costs me something. It may cost getting up early, staying up late, missing something you wanted to do. But when you're a friend, you're going to go ahead and invest your time and choose to spend that time on somebody else. Back in the 1950s, Sam Rayburn was Speaker of the House, which is a very powerful position in the American government. And he was a very powerful Speaker of the House. A friend of his, a congressman's daughter, died. And of course, he and his wife were just brokenhearted. And he went to see him. Sam Rayburn went to see him, and he said, "How you doing?" "Well, you know," and he said, "Well, have you had coffee?" And he said, "Oh, we haven't done anything. We haven't." Sam Rayburn, Speaker of the House, went in and made him breakfast. He got a call from his assistant and said, "This is the morning you were supposed to have breakfast with the president." He said, "Yes, I called the president. I told him I had a friend who was hurting. I'd have to go there instead." What was he saying? I'm willing to invest time, even if it costs me something, to be there with a friend when he needed me. And that's the kind of friends we need to be. Even when it costs us something. If somebody calls you, if I call you in the middle of the night, I need help, I think you guys would help. Even if it costs us something. So that's the kind of friendships the church was built on, and that my life has been built on. Is that kind of friend. So it means saying yes to an investment in time, says no to some other things sometimes. So I got some examples. Saying yes, say no to always eating alone, and yes to always eating together. Not always, but sometimes eating together. What spirituality is it to say that I just always eat by myself? This is one of the things I think. Now, I'm not saying spend all your money eating out, because that costs a lot of money. But let's sometimes say, you know what? Why don't we have somebody over? Why don't we invite somebody to lunch after church? Or you can even say, hey, let's split it. We'll go Dutch, but let's go together. I believe in eating together because you know what I found out with human beings? We all have to eat. I've not found a human being yet that didn't eat some way. So let's eat together. So say no, say yes, and that means that you get on the phone and ask somebody, or you go and ask somebody, invite somebody. You don't wait for somebody to just invite you. All right, and it says no to entertainment alone. Listen to Ricky Skaggs together. That's what we did today. Go out, go. Hey, you want to go to the ball game? Let's go together. You want to go to the concert? Let's go together. Boy, that's building friendships. And then when you're doing that, that's when you talk about life, and you listen to somebody, and you encourage somebody, and you know how to pray for them, because you're spending time together. Say no to physical activity alone, and say yes to activity together. Maybe it's, playing ball games, playing sports, playing disc golf, playing tennis, playing something together, or even just go for a walk instead of walking alone. Say no to only serving yourself and yes to serving others. Say no to listening only to TV and yes to listening to others. I watch television, but I don't want it to be said at the end of my life, well, one thing we know about Richard, he watched a lot of TV. Is that what any of us want on our tombstone? Of course not. We don't want that to be the only thing we do. Or watch TV with somebody else. At least do that together. Say no to only talking to yourself, if you do that, and yes to talk to God and others. And say no to sleeping in, and yes to worshiping together. And that's what you've done today. This is important. Worshiping together with others. I worship by myself, but it's important to worship together with others. And this is a way that we encourage each other. I love this verse in 1 Thessalonians 2. I don't know how I missed it. We love you so much. What do we do when we love you so much? That we share with you not only God's good news, the gospel, but our own lives. Wow. What more you got to share? If you love somebody, you want to share the good news. Listen, this is how you can be right with God and go to heaven. I mean, what kind of person would we be if we knew how to get to heaven? We didn't tell somebody else that we love them. But it also said, but I didn't just give you the gospel and leave you. I shared my life. That's what Paul said. That's what this is about, being a friend. This is so important, not just in some kind of thing, well, yeah, I can have a couple more friends. This is important for the spread of the gospel, for the good of the kingdom, for helping people on their walk with God. That's what I'm talking about. Because we know what's important. We know the truth. To share that, we must be, I think, good friends. All right. Number 2, how to be a good friend. Accept people even if they have flaws. All right, Romans 15. Accept each other just as Christ has accepted you. Were you perfect when you came to Christ? Anybody? No. And yet Christ said, come, and I forgive you. And I want you to be my disciple. And then he loved us and accepted us, and now he helps us and demand, really, that we do better, that we grow. But he doesn't say, listen, when you shape up, then I'll accept you. Thank God Jesus doesn't say that. We shouldn't say it either. That's Bible. Accept others. How? As Christ accepted us. You know somebody that's a homosexual and you don't like homosexuality? Do you shun them? Do you not talk to them? Do you not have them at church? That's an easy answer, isn't it? I hope it's an easy answer. No. You say, well, what really bothers me is people that are racist. Do you shun them? Do you not have them at church? Getting a little harder in it. But Christ accepts everybody with every flaw. If They come to him in humility and want forgiveness. And then he helps them change. I'm not saying we accept every flaw. Say, well, that's all right. However you live is how you want to live. I'm not saying that. And Christ doesn't say that. But he does say, I accept you and love you, and I receive you for forgiveness to be saved. Love prospers when a fault is forgiven. But dwelling on it separates even close friends. You know that thing you did last year still bugs me. Yeah, I said I was sorry, but it's still bugging me. You know, that separates close friends. When a fault is forgiven, we have to accept. You know why we have to accept people with flaws? Because everybody has flaws. We all do. We will have no friends if we don't accept people with flaws. I'm not saying that we accept the flaws and say that's okay, you don't have to change. I mean, we accept people with flaws. If somebody came here with a physical defect, maybe they were in a wheelchair, they couldn't walk. Or maybe they were blind. We had a blind guy in one church I went to. Would we reject them? No, we wouldn't. That answer's easier, Pastor. Thank you. We can answer that. But if they have another kind of defect in their character, in their morality, we don't reject them either. Okay? I know that's tough sometimes because we want to stand for what's right, but at the same time, we're the soldier of the cross who bring love. And so we accept our friends with flaws, and then we're hopefully going to rub off on them to help them be better as they help us be better. That's how to be a good friend. Not demanding perfection, because you won't have any friends if you demand perfection. And I'm not saying I don't have trouble with some of these things too. So, accept others. If you want a happier life, a little more forgiving, a little more forbearing, a little less perfectionist. By the way, that's the way to a happy marriage also. I've just been counseling my daughter and her prospective husband, telling him how he needs to treat her. Well, both of them. Number 3, be trustworthy. Be trustworthy. To be a good friend, we need to be trustworthy. Now, one Christian man named Bob had a son that was a Christian and really proud of him. He was dating a girl who later on turned out to be his wife. But they had a rule on school nights. He didn't go out with her, and he came home by a certain night. He was a teenager. Well, one night he was out later than he was supposed to, and he came home and said, oh, I was at my friend's house studying. But it came out he was with his girlfriend. Now, that's not a big, huge deal, except he told a lie. And telling a lie is not being trustworthy. And so his dad did not like it. He confronted his son, and he said, if you tell me lies, that means I can't trust you. And to rebuild trust, and he took a valuable little old teacup they had there and threw it down and broke it in a lot of pieces. It says, for you to rebuild your trust is like putting that teacup back together. Because once you tell me a lie, what do I know the next time if it's a lie or the truth? Well, what happened is that boy picked it up after his dad left the room, and it took him several weeks. He glued that whole teacup back together and learned his lesson. When you tell us a lie, we don't know if you're going to the next one. Is it a lie or a truth? That's why we should always tell the truth. Be trustworthy all the time. All right, here's some ways to be trustworthy. Be reliable. Many will say they are loyal friends, but who can find one who is truly reliable? So can we rely on you? If you tell us, I'll be there, I'll do that, can we rely on you? Reliable is a way to trust being a trustworthy friend. Be loyal. A friend is always loyal, and a brother is born to help in time of need. So loyal friends defend each other. All right, I have a picture here. Does anybody know who either one of these people are? You didn't know he's going to be quizzed. Anybody got a hint? I can't hear you if you said it. Jackie Robinson. Who's this one? Pee Wee Reach. Yeah. 75 years ago, Jackie Robinson became the first black man to play Major League Baseball. It's hard for us to believe that now that was like that, but that's the way it was then. Very brave thing for him to do, to take that stand. By the way, in 1997, they retired the number 42 on every team in Major League Baseball because that was Jackie Robinson's number. There's no 42. Well, the last 42, the one who already had a 42, he retired in 2013. So now, no more 42s in Major League Baseball. And every April 15th, starting in 2004, every player on every team wears number 42 to celebrate what Jackie Robinson did and what that meant to our country, because it was more than baseball. We know that, what it was. But now, there's a myth that when he came, he had everybody didn't like him. That's not true. He generally was very accepted, but there were several who didn't like it because it was a change. There was a few on his own team who'd started a petition, shouldn't let him play, and they came to Pee Wee Reese, who was very influential and popular, and he said, "No way, I'm not signing that thing. He's going to play with us." And Pee Wee Reese, even though he was from the South, became a good friend with Jackie Robinson. And there was a time when there was some heckling at a ballpark, and they looked back and they couldn't remember if it was Cincinnati or Boston, but that Pee Wee Reese, when they were heckling Jackie Robinson, went over to stand next to Jackie Robinson, and some say put his arm around him, and everybody shut up. Because popular Pee Wee Reese was saying, "He's my friend and he's playing." He was a loyal friend. And they had a good friendship the rest of their lives, Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese. So, are we loyal to our friends when somebody else may talk around behind their back? Say something about them. If you're a loyal friend, you don't just let that go. You say, "Well, wait a minute now, I know they're not that kind of person. I'll ask them and we'll find out." Which is what they don't want, usually, when they come behind to your back to talk about people. Let me say this. The person who comes behind their back to talk about somebody else may go behind your back to talk about you. Remember that. So, all right, along with that is keep confidences. A gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence. Somebody comes to you and says, "Listen, don't tell this to anybody else." You know what you should do? Don't tell this to anybody else. Boy, that's simple, isn't it? Keep confidence. That's what being trusted. If they wanted it announced, they would have got up and announced it. Now, I know a lot of times some of you will bring me and say, "I want you to pray about this, but I don't want other people to know." And I'll say, "Can I tell my wife so we pray together?" And almost always somebody will say, "Yes, you can," because she's good at keeping confidence. I've had a few say, "No, I don't want anybody to know." I don't even tell her if you say that. Keep a confidence. That is being trustworthy. Those who gossip to you will gossip about you. All right, number 4, celebrate wins and share losses. Be happy with those who are happy, it says in Romans, and weep with those who are weep. Don't weep with those who are happy, and don't laugh at those who are crying. You know, that's pretty simple. We share when they have a win. Yeah, ooh, you got a new car. Yes. Got a promotion at work. All right. Got a raise. Yes. Let's go out to eat. You buy. No, you don't. No, we celebrate with them. We don't say, "Well, I have a new car. I'll never get nothing." No, we celebrate with them. And if they have a loss, we're there with, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I prayed with you about that." And then really pray. So, don't sing a happy song when they're sad. And don't have jealousy about their happiness. And don't be a topper. And one of my favorite, not only do you get Ricky Skaggs today, you get one of my favorite comedians today, Brian Regan.
I'm actually kind of quiet off stage. A lot of people don't realize that. I was at a dinner party recently. A bunch of people that I don't know. One guy talking plenty for everybody. Me, myself, right, and then I, and then myself, right, me. I couldn't tell this one about I, because I was talking about myself, and then me. Beware the me monster. So I tried to jump in story, this guy goes, "That ain't nothing." Didn't mean to waste everybody's time telling my nothing story. Here, let Marco Polo speak. He's back with tales of adventure. My story ain't nothing. Maybe it wasn't, because I made the mistake of trying to tell a story about having only 2 wisdom teeth pulled, and I learned a lesson. Don't ever try to tell a 2 wisdom tooth story, because you ain't going nowhere. Before wisdom teeth, people are going to parachute in and cut you off at the pass. Halt with your 2 wisdom tooth tale. You will never complete one, trust me. I'm trying to tell my story. You know, I had some wisdom teeth pulled. I had 4 pulled. Oh. No 5, no 9, I had 9 wisdom teeth pulled. All of mine were impacted, they were all coming upside down, the roots are out around my tongue, coming up my nose. They were tusks, I was a warthog. No anesthesia, they pulled them out with pliers. I was eating corn on the cob that afternoon. Pin the blue ribbon upon his chest. That knocks the socks off of my wisdom tooth tail. Why do people need to top other people? I've never understood it, and I see it all the time. Obviously, people get something out of it. At best, people wait for your lips to stop. Okay, yeah, you, me! You, me! You see the difference? You see that? Now I do. What is it about the human condition? People get something out of that. That's why I have a social fantasy. I wish I was one of the 12 astronauts who have been on our moon. They must love knowing they can be anybody's story whenever they want. They can sit back quietly at a dinner party while some other person, some me monster's doing his thing, and let him go. Let him run with the line while you be quiet. Let him have his moment. Yeah, I'm a big traveler. I have my business. I got my own global enterprise I got to check on. You know, driving the Autobahn because I keep a fleet of sports cars over in Zurich. You know, I get the Swiss account that I want to check on. Mount Kilimanjaro expedition, might have to cancel that. You know, runways in Aspen are a lot shorter the first time you go in there. The Pacific Rim Company are going to try to take that over. Global enterprise. I walked on the moon. Well, you have the floor, moonwalker. You know, you mentioned driving on the Autobahn. That reminded me. Once I was driving in the Sea of Tranquility. In my lunar rover. And I too was worried about our speed till I remembered, wait, we're the only ones on the moon. You guys are great. Thank you very much.
All right. We don't have to top everybody else's story. Let's enjoy their story with them. Amen. All right. Number 5, last one, way to be a better friend. Help your friends be better. I say accept them as they are, but then you want to help them be better. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Now that means, first of all, we want to be iron. We want to be the best we can be. The best for our children, for our grandchildren, for our other friends at church, for the people around us. God help us. People are watching our lives. It does make a difference how we talk, what our attitude is, what we do with our time, what we do with our money. All of these things do matter. We want to be iron that sharpens iron. We want to help each other here and other people. So be willing to tell the truth in the right time with the right attitude. And don't be a person who doesn't want anybody to help you. Some of you remember Gordon Lightfoot singing a song about this. Must be a picture of the Edmund Fitzgerald, 75. It sunk in Lake Superior. Next year, Gordon Lightfoot sang a song about it, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, where the 29 people went down. And here's the interesting thing about it. It was a terrible storm, and other people knew that, you know, they were probably in danger. They had somebody contacted them and said, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And the captain said, "No, we're holding our own." And about 5 minutes later, they sunk. "We're holding our own." And they sunk. Never did even send out a distress signal. And that's the way some people are. They sink without sending out any distress signal. They're too proud to say, "Could you talk to me? Could you pray for me? Could you, help me?" That's what we're here for. We're friends. We're not just friends. We're God kind of friends. We're Jesus kind of friends. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I need somebody to talk to." Because we all need somebody to talk to. Man, I'm telling you, some people in here that listen when I need somebody to talk to. And I'm thanking God for them. And people in my life have been like that. So let's be there for each other to help each other be better. Mother Teresa said this. I love this quote. "None of us, including me, ever do great things, but we can all do small things with great love, and together we can do something wonderful." Me and you may never do anything great, but we can do small things with love and working together what God can accomplish in our lives. I want to close this thing on friendship with just remembering the best friend, the most important friendship, is a friendship with Jesus. Jesus said to his disciples in the night before he was crucified, "You are my friends." In another place it said Jesus is a friend to sinners. That's good news, because we've all been sinners. And yet he was a friend to sinners. He wants us to come to him humbly. In the very beginning of the book, in Genesis, Adam and Eve hid when God came. It was like God usually walks with them, but now they're afraid to walk with him because he wanted a relationship with his creation. And we see many verses where in Romans chapter 5, when we were utterly helpless, Christ came at the right time and died for us sinners. Our friendship with God was restored by his Son. So now we can rejoice with a wonderful new relationship with God because our Lord Jesus Christ has made us friends of God. The most important friendship is, do you have a relationship with God? That affects everything else in your life. Your marriage, your children, your friends, your work. And I want to know, I don't want you to tell me out loud, but ask yourself, have I made this where I've come and I've said, "Yes, God, I accept Jesus as my Savior," and you have a relationship with God, you're a friend of Jesus. That's the most important friendship. If you haven't done that, if you're not sure you have done that, then when I pray here in a minute, I hope you will pray and say, "Yes, God, I do need to be saved. Forgive me. I do want to walk with you and have your forgiveness and go to heaven."